Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 7th, 2021 at approximately 12:49 p.m. PST. You know, I keep starting off that way and I think it works out well for me. When I first started doing these recordings, it was based on one simple philosophy. A lot of people that I've been talking to on Spaced Out Radio really encouraged me to start doing a daily recording. And that was where it started. From there, I took it as, okay, where am I standing and am I content with it? Because I only follow three laws. Okay, now they encompass everything else. Okay, be true to yourself, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. And thus far, no matter how many different practices, how many different guidelines I've looked at, every one of the guidelines I've looked at from every one of the walks of life, okay, whether it's religion, spirituality, self-help, or self-help, group help, such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, support groups for PTSD. Every single one of these guidelines that I've found fall into those three I just listed. Now, from that standpoint, okay, take a look at it. If you find any guideline that doesn't fit in those three, absolutely please drop me a line at one of the contact points below this video, because I would love to know about it. Thus far, I have not been able to find one. Okay. So with that in mind, I do hope to get a thumbs up out of this video, as well as subscribe to the channel, because there's a lot of information that comes out. Okay, one of the biggest message that I've returned to gift to people, is this: working together, we can make this a better world for almost everybody. Now, there will always be, in all likelihood, people that don't like the idea of helping other people, that desire to be on top of the totem pole. Now, I have seen once, now understanding I remember my past lives rather well, I do remember one lifetime where the entire world of roughly 10 billion people, okay, and I did say 10, lived on Earth without fear. Well, they had fear. They had no jealousy, no war, there was no famine. Everybody worked together. Okay, there was absolutely envy, but that boiled down to, gee, I wish I could do the work that you do. And then that person that they were looking up to would go, okay, well, here's how I got started. See what you can do with it. Okay, and the competition became let's see if we can build better, if we can make more stunning artwork. Okay, or find an easier way to deal with things. Okay, but it was a very cooperative civilization. Now, where did it go? Well, it actually went away because of it was quite frankly an oversight. Okay, now that particular lifetime was intriguing. I was one of the few survivors of it, in all fairness. But the horrors that we went through after it happened, because what happened was because we were all connected mentally speaking, we were not a hive mind. Okay, but everybody could communicate telepathically if you chose to. And where we made the mistake was we didn't think it through. Somebody, and we never did figure out if it was male, female, child, adult, we had no idea. Okay, but somebody came up with the idea of what would happen if we all stop our hearts at the same time. Well, nobody thought it through. Nobody had done it before, and it was like, well, we're bored, we haven't tried it before, why not? Talk about a bad move. Okay, but it did teach me something. Okay, and I brought back with me this lifetime the knowledge on how to modify my own life. Okay, on how to modify the energy around me. And this is why in one of my videos I talk about Feng Shui. Now, most books you find on Feng Shui are written for Eastern philosophy, which works out really well in Eastern philosophy because the whole culture is built that way, it would seem. The principle of it, as in guiding energy to do what is now and what you desire it to do, is something that can be worked through. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why getting your workspace organized is extremely important. Okay, now, do understand, every tool that I offer is a tool that if it applies to me, I'm using it already. If it doesn't apply to me, I've been working in the consulting field since I was 10. Okay, working on personal, business, and UFO alien related stuff as well as ancient races. That said, if you've got a question in any field, drop me a line at one of the contact points below, and I will do my best to respond. Okay, so right now, my one goal is to take this message that working together, we can make this a better world for most people, with less stress, no famine, no war, okay, where people can actually cooperate, they can actually communicate, and see the similarities in people. Now, it is way past time that people start doing this. Okay, way too many people focus on the differences. Okay, and go, because you're different than me, I'm better. Okay, the reality is, every single entity in existence is starting at exactly the same place. Right here, right now. Whatever brought you to this point in your life, however old you are, right here, right now is where you are at this moment, making everybody in the same boat. Everybody worth the exact same amount from a spiritual standpoint. Okay, and in the understanding that we talk about the past and we talk about things for the future, the only time you can ever do anything, the only time you can ever accomplish anything, is right here, right now. Even if you talk about, oh, tomorrow I'm going to do such and such. The sad reality is, by the time you get to tomorrow, tomorrow is today. Right when you get there, you're back in the right here, right now. Okay, the amount of money you've got will never alter that. Okay, you cannot buy your way into temporal manipulation. Well, that's not entirely correct. If you can figure out temporal and time travel works really well going forward. Problem is, if you jump forward in time, you can't get back, which means you're stuck in the future, which then becomes your present. So when you start looking at your life, take a look at what you're not content with. Now, I wasn't content with the fact that all of these drawers over here, and I don't think, oh yeah, you can just sort it, no, you can't even see it. It doesn't come out far enough to be able to, oh, there we are. See, that's one of the drawers I've got. I've got drawers here that I did manage to sort out, same as the ones on the other end. But by altering the way that the energy is flowing in my office, I'm finding I'm getting more and more energy, more and more focused. Net result, I'm able to accomplish the goals I've set for myself. Now, I've already talked about the one goal I've got. The other goal I've got is this. This little book here is one of a series of 12. It's the first one out. Okay. And I finally managed to get them moving in the right direction. Okay, so they're starting to roll out properly. Later this year, I'll have the sequel out. This is a goal that started when I was about 13, 14 years old-ish. Might have been 15. It was grade 10 anyway. But at grade 10 puts you around about 15 years old. Okay, I'm now 58. 43 years after I started the journey, I've managed to get a book in print. Actually, in all fairness, I've got 5 in print. But that's the other big goal I've got, is to get this saga of 12 stories out and completed. It's actually broken into 12 books. Okay, the first one's out. I've got the second one almost ready to go. It'll come out later this year. The rest of them I'm in the middle of writing. And my goal is real simple. Get the whole thing completed. Okay, so it's one step at a time, but I've already written about a quarter of the saga. Okay, it's had its setbacks, it's had its complications, but I am making headway with it. Now, the nice part about it, in my eyes, is I've got this goal, okay, and the trick with a goal is grab a sheet of paper, write down 3 goals that you personally are, 3 things that you're not content with in your life. Now, it's really easy to identify what you're not content with. Okay. When you figure out something you're not content with, it can be as simple as you don't like where your pen's sitting, or you don't like how your desk looks. Okay. Write it down. Keep the jobs to 15 minutes to half an hour in length. Okay, that way you can feel like you're getting things accomplished. When you get one done, check it off. Write down a 3rd one again, which now puts 4 on your list. Go through them one step at a time. And what you'll find happen is you'll start feeling like you're getting things accomplished. And I do know the more focused I get, the more I manage to get accomplished. And the funny thing there is this. If you're feeling like you're getting nothing accomplished, and then all of a sudden things start to happen, the fact you're getting things accomplished starts making you feel that much more energetic, that much more inclined to get more things done. Okay, now I used to be a professional procrastinator, as in, never do what you can put off. Now the actual saying is supposed to be, never do today what you can put off till tomorrow. I had it down to a fine art. I had never do what you can put off and just scrap the rest of the effort. Okay, worked wonders for not getting anything done. And it was a real hard path to break. Okay, especially when you think that earlier this year, I had a lot of money come through my hands, but I didn't correct the thinking of it. So what I ended up doing is writing off a lot of money. Now, fortunately, I buried a lot of it into investments so that I'll be fine as I retire. If I ever get around to retiring. If I'm anything like my father was, from my understanding, he retired 4 times before he passed away. And undoubtedly, I will end up passing away at some point. I'm just not in a hurry for it right now. Okay, so those are 2 major goals I've got right now. Okay, I've got a couple of other minor ones. Okay, and a couple of very important things for me. You know, there was a show out, I think it was in the mid 80s, called The Bucket List. And I strongly encourage people to actually put one together. Okay, because that concept is, here's a goal, here is something I desire to experience before I'm done my lifetime. Now, I haven't gotten around to doing a bucket list, in all honesty, and primarily that's because this list I keep working with, and I keep rotating it. Okay, now, I will tell you this. When we look at the concept of 2 factors, now, like I said, I am a spiritual guide, and the thing is, if you're following a spiritual guide, whether they are a pastor, a priest, a witch doctor, whether they're the head of a support group, whether they're your parents, it doesn't matter. Okay, whoever you're striving to follow, striving to emulate, make sure they are following their own guidelines. Now, I'm not perfect by any stretch, and I do not expect people to stand up and go, oh, he's doing exactly everything that works, because rest assured, I'm not. But if you're following a guideline that says you've got to fear whoever it is you're putting as the top of the totem pole, okay, you may want to rethink. Because much as fear is something humans are born with, and quite frankly, so is every other corporeal entity, fear works well for keeping you a little bit on the safe side. But fearing everybody around you is absolutely going to go a little backwards. Okay, people keep talking about don't talk to strangers. Well, I'll tell you, break that down to a real basic level. If you're a parent, your own children, when they were born, were strangers to you, and you were a stranger to them. Okay, And yes, that's a little oversimplified, but it does get the point across. When you met them, you talked to them. The way I heard it put one day was, a stranger is simply a friend you haven't met. Now, most people I do my best to get along with. There are some people I just cannot seem to find any way to connect. Which for me is not really a shock, given the amount of seclusion I've left myself in. Okay. Now, from your standpoint, very important that you pick a direction in life. And it's not a question of get your life in order before you hit 20. To the people that are telling their kids and telling the people they know, you've got to have a plan in place before you're 20 if you're going to be successful. Let's be clear. In my experience, and I've been like I said, I've been working in the consulting field for 86. So for 35 years, I've been working in the professional consulting field. And what I found is that the majority of people haven't got a clue what they want to do when they grow up until they're in their mid-40s to early 50s. Okay, this is something to keep in mind. There's a whole lot of things that you can experience while you're going along. Now, I like the way one person put it to me. He goes, I've been miserable rich and I've been miserable poor. Hands down, I would rather be miserable rich. Okay, now this is just the way one person saw it. Myself, I'd rather not be miserable, period. Which is why I've decided I'm changing all of the things in my life I'm not content with. Now, if you notice that shelf behind that's saying right there, that empty white shelf, I decided yesterday, as a matter of fact, I do believe I emptied it yesterday while I was on the video in the first place. That was one of those things I was getting rid of. Okay, it was clearing the clutter out of the way. And I'm going to continue doing that. Okay, because I'm removing the clutter out of my life. I'm getting the energy moved around so that I don't have to deal with the cacophony that comes across it. But if you're following a spiritual guide of any form, okay, number one, let us be very clear about something. War has never brought peace. It brings quiet, but it does not bring peace. Okay, war is not good for an economy. It's great for the weapons makers. It's great for the people that are in control positions. But for the average person, war does not actually work well. Okay, talk to any doctor that's been involved in medical procedures, any first aid that's been involved in medical procedures in a high stress situation. It's easier to focus on saving people's lives if you yourself are not getting shot at. If you yourself are not worried about a bomb going off while you're sitting there. It's far easier to focus. And this is why I say it's absolutely imperative that we work together and put the negative stuff aside. Really redirect the energy so it's not focusing on the negative. The trick there is you minimize the negative, you maximize the positive. By putting your focus there, you'll find your life takes a real turn for the better. Now, I was talking to one person the other day because I was having trouble focusing past the negative I was picking up. As I'm sure if you look back over one of my recent videos, you'll find I was not actually happy with the way society was handling itself. But since this conversation I had, as I pointed out, focusing on the obviously I can't focus on everything at the same time, but I can choose to either focus on the positive or on the negative. And much as I've been telling myself the same thing for months. Okay, it wasn't until it was pointed out by this one individual that it finally clicked, and I went, okay, I can continue looking at the negative, or I can decide that I'm going to focus on the positive, on making headway. So when I look at the negative, if I'm not happy with the way something is going, alter the energy pattern, alter the direction it's going. Okay, by putting the effort into that, if you look back over my earlier videos, I took a lot of time to try and get a coffee cup to my mouth. But as soon as I moved it over the left side, the left shoulder has been working a lot better. I've had a lot better eye-hand coordination. And that's something that I've got to start working on a little bit more fervently. For those of you that have a hiccup where it comes to a physical impediment, okay, whether your legs are working or not working properly, or your arms are not working properly, focus on doing just little things. Okay. Now, do not get me wrong. Many times people get hurt to the point that they really don't have the capacity themselves to move forward. But if you've got a stubborn streak, and many of you do, and you've got an idea in mind, like for instance, I used to have eyesight that was literally, I couldn't see my glasses that far from my face. I now have 20/20 eyesight for reading. And that was done without medication and without surgery. It was done because I found a way. In all fairness, I found a book, The Bates Method to Better Eyesight Without Glasses, that gave me the tools to figure out how to correct my eyes, which is what I did. I am currently in the process of correcting my blood sugar levels, my pulse, and my heart rate. Okay. Not to mention the fact that I've got some hiccups, especially where it comes to dental work. I'm in the process of literally correcting that. Now, for the moment, the teeth are having their problems, but I have managed to bypass the infection problem, which is a good thing. Now it's a case of moving forward and deciding how I'm going to do it. Like I told the doctor, I would use medication as a crutch. And for the time being, that is exactly what I've been using it for. This idea of you can't heal without it. Medication is a good thing. And I do encourage you to deal with the doctors. They clearly know more than you do, in all likelihood, about general practice. The one thing I caution you about is understand that just because the doctor says it can't be done does not mean it cannot be done. It means they don't know themselves how to do it. Okay. I had a client brought to me that was in a wheelchair. Okay, the doctors had told her she was going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. She was brought to me, and we got her out of the wheelchair. But all that I personally did was remind her body how to heal itself. That's all. You can do exactly the same thing for your own. Now, do not expect to be, if you're sitting in a wheelchair, do not expect to be running around within a day or two. Okay, but if your legs are not working at all, okay, work on just seeing if you can get a toe to work. Now, it will take time, okay, especially if you've been there for a while. But I'm a firm believer that it is possible to override it. It's kind of like it is possible for me to put my brain back together so that I can stop the 2 major glitches that I've got. I've technically got 3. Every time my blood pressure goes up, my leg, my heart, or my lungs quit. Now, I'll tell you from practical experience, the leg quitting is the best of the 3. The lungs are a pain in the neck, and the heart, well, let's face it, it has some pretty fatal side effects if it stops. But the reality is, if your body can create it, your body can destroy it. But it does take a definitive focus and a definitive belief on your part that it can be done. Now, the reality of life is this. All the tools in the world, if you don't pick them up, are totally useless. The best carpenter tools in the world are of absolutely no use to anybody if you don't pick them up. Okay, the greatest gun in the world will not do any damage to somebody if it's left alone. Because on their own, guns just don't do anything. It's kind of like cars don't go around running over pedestrians. Okay, the only way that happens is if somebody else does something to the car. If it's on a hill, take the emergency brake off, that sort of thing. But a car on its own, left untouched, will not go anywhere. A gun left untouched will not hurt anybody. Okay, understand that whether or not you believe something is possible, whether you believe it's possible or you believe it's not, in either event, whichever way you believe, that is what you're stacking the deck in favor of having manifest. Now, I don't ask, like, people talk about asking for, asking your guides for help. I never ask my guides for help. And the reason for that is not because I don't have guides. It's because the moment that you ask for help, you're acknowledging to the universe that you don't have it. And the way that the universe interprets that is, please permit me to experience a lack of whatever it is you're asking for help for. So what I do whenever I'm looking for assistance from my guides is I thank them for helping me. In that way, I'm saying, you already did, so thanks very much. I'm just acknowledging this. Okay. By doing that, you can shift the energy in your life so that the positive things that are available come to you instead of just the negative ones. Okay. But it is going to require your effort. And the only person on the planet, the only person in existence that can be successful for you is you. This said, work with the people around you, because some things that you would like to do, you may not know how. In my case, if I've got a mechanical problem, I take my car to the mechanic and go, there, deal with it. Please take care of this because I haven't got a clue what I'm doing and I require the car. Okay, there's an old saying that goes, no man is an island unto themselves, which means everybody requires help with something. And this is why I said really focus on getting a support crew around you, be it family, be it a religion, be it some sort of church, some sort of temple, or a support group. Get people around you. Okay, talk to them when you're having troubles. Now, the one thing technology did that was really beneficial was it enabled us to talk to people on the other side of the world and still see who we're talking to. Assuming, of course, you're not blind. Okay, and then all the technology in the world is pretty much a mess. But with that in mind, I do keep these down to half an hour in length. Okay, because I know if you're anything like me, you've got a lot of things on the go. So I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.